The Galactic Mercenary Guild staging area hummed with the usual pre-deployment chaos. Warriors from a dozen species checked their equipment, their natural armor gleaming under the harsh artificial lights. The Kraxan flexed their crystalline exoskeletons. The Vorash tested their razor-sharp talons. The massive Thule cracked their stone-like knuckles, each movement echoing like distant thunder. And then there was Marcus Chen, standing alone near the loading bay, encased in what looked like an oversized mechanical coffin. "Look at the human," Kathrak chittered, his mandibles clicking in what passed for Kraxan laughter. "Soft flesh needs a shell just to survive." The insults came in waves, translated through neural implants into a cacophony of mockery. The other mercenaries found it endlessly amusing, humanity's greatest weakness on full display. While every other species had evolved natural weapons, armor, or adaptations that made them formidable, humans were fragile, weak, helpless without their technology. Marcus said nothing. He simply ran through his suit's diagnostic checklist, each system responding with a soft green pulse in his helmet's HUD. The Mark 7 heavy combat exosuit was humanity's answer to biological inferiority, and he'd worn one for 6 years. It had become more than equipment. It had become part of him. The mission briefing was standard. Clear out a Ravager hive that had infested an abandoned mining station on Kepler 442b. The Ravagers were a plague species, insectoid nightmares that consumed everything organic in their path. This particular hive had 20,000 confirmed contacts. When the dropship landed, the formation moved out with military precision. Kathrak took point with his crystalline warriors. The Vorash flanked the sides, their heat vision cutting through the station's darkness. The Thule formed the heavy core, their massive frames capable of withstanding direct plasma fire. Marcus brought up the rear, his suit's servos whining softly with each step. More laughter rippled through the squad channel. The first contact came fast. Ravagers poured from the ventilation shafts like a black tide, their screeches echoing through the corridors. The Kraxan formed a shield wall, their bodies interlocking. The Vorash leaped into the fray, claws flashing. The Thule stood like mountains, crushing anything that came close. For 20 minutes it was glorious. The Guild's warriors were doing what they did best, and the Ravagers fell by the hundreds. Then the numbers stopped mattering. They came from everywhere. The walls, the ceiling, the floor. Thousands became tens of thousands. Kathrak's crystalline armor cracked under the onslaught. A Vorash screamed as acid blood ate through his arm. Even the mighty Thule began to falter, their stone-like skin chipping under relentless attacks. "Fall back," Kathrak ordered, his voice strained. "Back to the landing zone." The retreat became a rout. Warriors who had mocked the weak human minutes ago now ran for their lives, their natural advantages meaningless against such overwhelming numbers. Marcus didn't run. He planted his feet, mag-locked his boots to the deck, and became an immovable object. His suit's reactor hummed to life, power flooding into systems that had been idling. The mounted rotary cannon on his right arm spun up with a mechanical shriek. "Chen, what are you doing?" Kathrak shouted. "Move!" "Buying you time," Marcus said simply. "Run." The Ravagers hit him like a wave hitting a cliff, and like a cliff he didn't move. The rotary cannon roared. 6,000 rounds per minute poured into the corridor, each depleted uranium slug traveling at hypersonic velocity. Ravagers exploded into fragments. The ones behind them died. The ones behind them died too. When the cannon ran dry, Marcus didn't hesitate. His left arm housed a plasma caster, a weapon so powerful that most species couldn't generate enough body heat to prevent hypothermia after firing it. Marcus's suit recycled the excess heat into his life support, using what would kill others to keep him alive. White-hot plasma turned the corridor into hell. Ravagers vaporized by the dozens. The metal walls glowed red, then white, then began to melt. They kept coming. They always kept coming. Marcus triggered his shoulder-mounted micro-missile pods. Smart munitions screamed into the horde, each one finding clusters and detonating with surgical precision. The explosions created a wall of fire and shrapnel that nothing could cross. Nothing living anyway. His suit was down to 30% power, 20%, 15%. Behind him he heard the dropship's engines. They were clear. "Chen, get out of there." Kathrak's voice had lost its mockery. Now it carried something else: respect, fear, concern. Marcus smiled inside his helmet. He had one weapon left, the one nobody talked about, the one that made the Mark 7 suit truly dangerous. Initiating emergency reactor purge, he said calmly as if discussing the weather. No! Multiple voices shouted simultaneously. Marcus overrode the safety protocols with his command code and ran, not away from the Ravagers, but toward them. His maglocks disengaged, and the suit's enhanced servos propelled him forward at speeds that would have pulverized an unprotected human body. He crashed through the horde like a meteor, his armored fists crushing anything in his path. 3 seconds. He made it to the hive's central chamber, where the queen pulsed with obscene life, surrounded by thousands of her children. 2 seconds. He disabled his helmet's external speakers and smiled. We soft flesh found a way to make our own armor, he whispered. We just made it better than yours. 1 second. The reactor detonated with the force of a small nuclear weapon. The mining station ceased to exist. The hive ceased to exist. The Ravager threat on Kepler 442b ceased to exist. 3 days later, they found Marcus's suit floating in the debris field. The armor was scorched black, the systems dead. Recovery teams declared it a total loss and prepared to jettison it. Then the suit moved. The helmet cracked open and Marcus Chen took his first breath of recycled ship air. His body was battered. His augmented skeleton had stress fractures. But the suit's emergency life support had worked exactly as designed. It had protected him through the explosion, maintained his life signs, and brought him home. Kathrak visited him in the medical bay, his crystalline face unreadable by human standards. We mocked you, the Kraxan said quietly. We called you weak. Marcus adjusted the regeneration field around his ribs and shrugged, wincing at the pain. You weren't wrong. Humans are weak. That's why we build things like this. He gestured at the ruined suit being reconstructed by fabricators. Every species has natural gifts. Ours is knowing we don't have any, and refusing to let that stop us. Kithrak was silent for a long moment. Then his mandibles clicked, but this time not in mockery, in understanding. The guild is upgrading your contract, he said. Full combat specialist. Triple pay. And Marcus? The Kraxan's voice carried genuine warmth. Thank you for the cliff that doesn't move, Marcus smiled. Anytime you need a human in a suit. The Kraxan left and Marcus stared at his armor through the medical bay window. To everyone else, it was just technology. Just a machine. But Marcus knew the truth. The suit wasn't what made him dangerous. It was the human inside who refused to quit, refused to break, refused to die. The suit was just the weapon. The human was the will that wielded it.